The first thing I remember is the sound of rain. It wasn't gentle, it was desperate, like the sky was crying for me. Then came the voices. A nurse, a doctor, someone saying he's awake. I tried to open my eyes, but the light cut through like a blade. Everything smelled like antiseptic and metal. My head throbbed with a pain that didn't belong to this world. "Where am I?" I whispered. "You're in St. Clair Hospital," a woman said softly. I turned toward the voice, and that's when I saw her. She stood by the door, hands trembling, eyes red as if she'd been crying for hours. But when our eyes met, she froze. "Do I know you?" I asked. Her lips parted, but no words came. Only tears. She took a shaky step forward, then stopped, like something invisible was holding her back. "I'm sorry," she said finally, forcing a weak smile. "I was just worried." "Worried? About me?" "Yes. You remind me of someone I used to know." That was the first lie she ever told me, and I believed her. The doctor said I'd lost part of my memory after the accident, fragments of a life erased by steel and fire. They gave me new clothes, a name tag that read Elias Ward, and a pile of forms to sign as if that could rebuild who I was. Days passed. She came to visit every afternoon, always with flowers. White daisies, never roses. Sometimes she read to me. Sometimes she just sat there, silent, watching the rain streak down the window, like time itself was leaking away. One day I asked her, "What's your name?" She hesitated, then said, "Lena." I didn't know then that the name she gave me wasn't her real one. But when she said it, something deep inside me, something I couldn't name, started to ache. That night I dreamed of a girl standing in the rain, whispering my name again and again. When I woke up, my pillow was wet, and I didn't know if it was from the rain outside or the tears I couldn't remember crying. They said memories return like tides, slowly, quietly, then all at once. But mine stayed still, like a sea frozen in winter. Each morning at St. Clair felt the same. White walls, gray skies, the steady rhythm of heart, monitors pretending to be life. Except for her. Lena came at exactly 3 in the afternoon. Always with a cup of coffee she never drank, and a faint smile that never reached her eyes. Sometimes she'd ask me about my dreams. Sometimes she'd just listen to the rain with me, as if silence itself was safer than words. One afternoon I caught her staring at my hands, not like she was studying them, but remembering them. When I asked what she was thinking, she said, "You used to play the piano, didn't you?" The words hit me like thunder. "I don't know," I said. "Did I?" She smiled, that same sad, knowing smile, and said, "You always played when it rained." That night, I asked the nurse if there was a piano in the hospital. She pointed me toward the therapy room, where a dust-covered upright stood in the corner, like a forgotten soul. My fingers hesitated above the keys. When I pressed one, the sound came out cracked, hesitant, but familiar. Something deep in my chest trembled. Then, like a ghost, a melody began to play itself in my head, faint, sorrowful, and unbearably lonely. Lena appeared at the door, holding a small bouquet of daisies. She didn't say a word. She just listened, her eyes shining with something between joy and pain. When the song ended, I looked up. She was crying again. "Why are you crying?" I asked. "Because," she whispered, "you remembered something, even if you don't realize it." And before I could say another word, she turned and left, leaving the flowers on top of the piano. There was a note tucked between the stems. Not every song needs an ending. That night, the melody haunted me, over and over, until I could almost hear a voice singing my name inside it. The rain had become part of my life, like breath, like silence. Every drop against the window felt like it was trying to remind me of something I had once promised and failed to keep. I was discharged 2 weeks later. The doctor said my body was healing faster than expected, but my mind was still trapped somewhere between before and after. Lena insisted on walking me home. It wasn't much of a home, just a small apartment filled with boxes I didn't remember packing. She lingered in the doorway, fingers brushing the door frame like it carried ghosts. "You've been here before?" I asked. Her eyes flickered. "Once." She set down a small bag, groceries maybe, and turned to leave. But as she did, the strap of her sleeve slipped from her shoulder. That's when I saw it, a faint scar along her wrist, pale and jagged, like lightning etched into skin. "What happened?" I asked, before I could stop myself. She froze, then pulled the sleeve back up. "An accident. A long time ago." But the sight of it tore something inside me open. In that instant, I knew that scar. I didn't remember the story, but my body did. My heart did. After she left, I searched the apartment for clues. Anything to tell me who I was before the crash. In the back of a drawer, I found an old photograph. 2 people on a rain-soaked street, a man holding an umbrella, a woman smiling through the downpour. Her hand was raised toward the camera, showing the same scar. I turned the photo over. On the back, written in messy ink, "Elias plus Claire, even the rain can't wash us away." Claire, not Lena. The room seemed to tilt. I sat down, heart pounding, as a voice whispered through the cracks of my memory. "Promise me, Elias. No matter what happens, remember me when it rains." That night, the sound of rain was unbearable. Every drop felt like her voice calling from the past. And for the first time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to remember, or if I was terrified of what I'd find when I did. For days, the name Claire echoed in my head like a song with no melody. It clung to me, and the smell of coffee, and the way rain hit the pavement, and the quiet hum of the city after dark. I tried to ignore it. I tried to keep pretending that Lena was just a kind stranger. But lies, like old letters, have a way of resurfacing. One morning I found a small box behind the bookshelf, taped shut, covered in dust. Inside were letters, dozens of them, all written in the same looping handwriting I'd seen on the back of that photo. Each envelope was addressed to me, Elias Ward, but they were never mailed. The first letter began simply, "If you're reading this, it means I couldn't stay." Her words spilled across the page, trembling and uneven. She wrote about the nights we used to stay up talking until dawn, about how she loved the way I played piano with my eyes closed, about how she never believed in forever until she met me. Then the tone changed. "The doctors say it's growing faster. I didn't want to tell you. You were finally starting to live your dream. I couldn't take that away." My hands shook as I turned the pages. The letters traced a slow unraveling. Hope turning into fear. Love turning into goodbye. If I disappear one day, please don't come looking for me. Just play that song when it rains, it will find me. By the time I reached the last letter, the ink had smudged, as if written through tears. When you see me again, I might not call myself Claire, but if you ever play the melody we wrote together, I'll remember. I pressed the letters to my chest, feeling the paper tremble with the rhythm of my heartbeat. Outside thunder rolled. Rain began again, relentless, insistent, and in every drop I heard her voice. Do you remember me now, Elias? I didn't answer, because I finally did. And I wished I hadn't. The rain didn't stop that night. It pressed against the windows like grief made visible, unrelenting, cold, and alive. I sat on the floor surrounded by the letters, each one a fragment of a life I had erased. Claire. The name felt foreign and familiar all at once. The woman who left me, the woman who came back under another name. When the knock came at the door, I already knew who it was. Lena stood there, soaked to the bone. Her hair clung to her face. Her eyes, red and unguarded, met mine. You remembered, she whispered. I didn't answer. I simply held up one of the letters. Her breath caught. You weren't supposed to find those. Then tell me, I said, my voice shaking. Why did you lie to me? Why did you come back? She stepped closer, the light trembling between us. Because you forgot me, Elias, and I couldn't stand it. Her words cracked something inside me. When you woke up in the hospital, she continued, you looked at me like I was no one. I told myself it was better that way, that you could have a life without pain. But I couldn't stay away. I just wanted to see you one last time, even if it meant being someone else. I wanted to be angry, but all I felt was the echo of her absence. Years of silence condensed into that trembling voice. You were dying, I said, the realization cutting through me. Those letters, you were saying goodbye. She nodded. The treatments worked? For a while. But it's back now. My knees went weak. No. She smiled, that same soft smile from the photo, the one that looked like sunrise. I didn't come here for forgiveness, she said. I came so that when it rains again, you won't be alone. Her hand found mine, cold, trembling, fragile. I saw the scar again, glistening beneath the dim light. I wanted you to forget me, she whispered, so you wouldn't have to hurt like this. But I remembered, I said, and it hurts anyway. Her eyes filled, tears mixing with the rain. Outside, thunder cracked, and for a moment it felt like the world paused just to listen. Then let's make this our last memory, she said softly. Not as Lena, not as Claire, just us. She leaned forward, her forehead resting against mine, rainwater and tears indistinguishable. I love you, she breathed. I never stopped, I answered. When I opened my eyes again, she was gone. Only the door stood open, and the rain kept falling, harder, louder, like the sky itself was grieving. That was the day I remembered everything, and the day I truly lost her. The rain stopped at dawn. For the first time in weeks, silence filled the city, fragile, almost sacred. But inside my apartment, it still felt like it was raining. Her scent lingered, soft, floral, fading. On the piano, the daisies she left were beginning to wilt, and beside them a small cassette tape wrapped in a folded note. My hands trembled as I unwrapped it. On the paper, in the same delicate handwriting, were 4 words, "Play it when it rains." I stared at the tape for a long time, afraid of what it might hold. But when the first raindrop touched the window again, as if on cue, I pressed play. At first only static. Then her voice, fragile, uncertain, but undeniably hers. "Hi, Elias. If you're hearing this, I guess I'm gone again." I didn't know how else to say goodbye. Her laugh followed, soft, nervous, the way she used to sound before every performance. "You once told me that music never dies, that it just changes shape. So maybe this is my way of living on, inside the song." I closed my eyes, letting her words settle into the quiet between breaths. "If you ever forget again, it's okay. Just know that I loved you once, and that love was real." There was a pause, the kind that feels heavier than words. Then, faintly, the sound of a piano, the same melody I had played that night in the hospital. Only now she was humming along, her voice trembling but alive like light caught in rain. The tape clicked off. Silence returned. I sat there for hours, unable to move, until the morning sun began to push through the clouds. That's when I noticed something scratched onto the piano's surface, a single line, written faintly with a hairpin. "Don't wait for me. Live." I touched the words, tracing each letter like it could still lead me back to her. The melody returned to my head, slow, aching, endless. And I realized something. Maybe remembering her wasn't meant to hurt. Maybe it was her way of keeping me alive. So I played, and for the first time the music didn't sound like goodbye. It's been 3 years since the last time it rained that way. 3 years since her voice faded into the static of that old tape. The city feels different now, brighter, louder, but sometimes, when the wind hits the glass just right, I can almost hear her humming again. I moved away for a while, tried to build a life that wasn't shaped by loss. I worked. I traveled. I even learned to laugh again. But grief is not something you leave behind. It's something you learn to carry, like a quiet song that never stops playing. Today I came back. St. Clair Hospital still stands, though the walls are painted new. The piano in the therapy room is gone, replaced by a shelf of books. Yet I swear, if I close my eyes, I can still feel the weight of her hand guiding mine across those keys. I walked to the cemetery after. The path was wet, even though the sky was clear, as if the ground itself remembered. Her grave was simple. White stone, no dates, just a single line engraved beneath her name. Music never dies. I placed fresh daisies on the soil, her favorite, and sat there in the quiet listening. No rain, no thunder, just the soft rustle of leaves and the faint echo of the melody we once wrote together. I reached into my coat pocket and pulled out the cassette. The label was fading, the tape brittle, but when I pressed play, her voice still came through, faint, ghostly, alive. If you're listening, it means you made it through another storm. I smiled. For the first time, it didn't hurt. As the tape ended, I whispered to the wind, "I did, Claire. I made it." And when I looked up, a single cloud drifted across the blue, breaking into soft, silver rain. Not enough to soak the world, just enough to remind me she was still here, somewhere between the drops and the silence after. So I walked home slowly, the rain following me like an old friend. And for the first time I wasn't afraid of forgetting, because love, even when it fades from memory, never truly leaves.